Linda Bond, and I'm so pleased today to be interviewing Bob Allen, who's the sports director of ABC 13 in Houston. He was named by the Houston Chronicle as Houston's favorite sportscaster. He started 37 years ago as weekend sports anchor, and 6 months later he was a sports director. Now he has the longest tenure of any major sports anchor in the country. And the best thing for us is that he was named the SFA's 2011 Distinguished Alumni.
Best
Bob,
thing for me, too.
Thank you very much. Bob, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And for helping us inaugurate our television station.
I'm thrilled to death.
I wondered what you were like as growing up in Houston.
Well, as I told you before, I don't think I ever really grew up. I got a little older in Houston.
Yeah, now I understand you played football. You're not a great big guy.
No. As I told a class here earlier, the only things that held me back were size, talent, and speed. Aside from that, I'd have been all state.
You'd have been really good.
Yeah, I'd have been really good.
But did you love football all your life?
No. Growing up as a kid, it was mostly baseball.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I liked all sports. My dad got me interested in all kinds. We'd go to baseball games. We'd go to football games when I was growing up. So, and he was a huge sports fan. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
You left Houston and came to SFA.
I did. When I went to Westbury High School in Houston, I didn't know where I was going to go to college. A bunch of my friends from Houston were coming up here. And I came up here for a visit, and I walked around the campus for a little while. I said, this is beautiful. I mean, this is just, it's close enough to Houston to be able to get home, but it's far enough away to be away.
Right, which is pretty important when you're going to college.
So I chose it here, and ever since then, it's been so many years later, Stephen F. Austin has just held such a special place in my heart.
Well, that's
I
wonderful.
mean, I wasn't a great student here. I did get my degree, but I met so many great people, learned so many things, was so influenced by this place. Back when I was in school, they didn't have this wonderful studio, this wonderful setup. They didn't have a radio TV major.
Oh.
Had they had that then, there was a chance I might have gotten out in 4 years.
I do understand that you were spinning platters at a radio station while you were here.
Yeah. First job in broadcasting was 20 miles up the road in Lufkin at KRBA. A fraternity brother of mine said they've got an opening for somebody to play gospel records on Sunday morning. I didn't know from gospel, you know. I said, sure, I'll do it. I went and tried out, got that job. Then 3 months later, KEEE, 12:30 a.m., which is no longer here in town. They were in the old Stone Fort National Bank building. They hired me to be a disc jockey there, and I learned so much there. I worked there for a couple of years, my last 2 years in college. Learned how to speak on the radio, learned how to do sports, news, commercials, production, and it was a great background for me.
I understand you were influenced by the really smooth stylings of some of the Chicago DJs.
That's a good story. You're listening to the radio. Okay. Those of us who were disc DJing here used to listen to WLS in Chicago, the Big 89. And they had like really great disc jockeys. And so what we'd listen to their stuff and steal it. Okay? So they had this disc jockey named Steve Lundy, and he was really great. So he did an intro to this record called Cherish by the Association.
I remember that record.
And what he'd do, he got very close to the mic. You know, I'm going to mess up your audio guy. And he'd say, from out of your past, Chicago, the Association and Cherish. Oh, that is really a good intro. So I said, I got to try this the next day. So I get back to the station, find Cherish, put it on the turntable, start it, open up the mic, and lean into the mic and say, from out of your past, Chicago, the Association and Cherish. And I thought, I'm good, until I realized, I said, yeah, you're in Nacogdoches, dummy. You're not in Chicago.
But you sounded good.
Yeah, it sounded good. How stupid was that?
You were pretty bold even then, though. You went to Houston and you visited with Ray Miller.
Ray Miller was the news director of KPRC Radio and TV, which is the NBC affiliate back then. And I was still in college, and he was kind enough to come out and talk to this kid who he didn't know in college, and sit down with me and give me some guidance and what to do and how to go about it and let me hang around the television station.
Wow.
And I got to know the people there. And then when I graduated, I sent him a tape of my work at KEEE, and he hired me to be on the radio there.
Did he remember you from having come in?
Yeah, because I would call him frequently. I would stay in touch with him, which is what I advised a lot of the kids here to do today.
Right.
Make contact with people, know people, because it's a lot easier to get a job that way.
Sure.
If you know somebody. And when I graduated, Ray hired me at KPRC Radio.
Wonderful.
And because of the fact that he took the time out to talk to nobody and give them advice, anytime a kid comes by our station today or calls me for advice, I always try to take time with them because I remember what Ray did for me and how much it helped me.
I love to hear that. That matters so much to our students.
Yeah, it really
you had
does.
an interesting experience with Jack Cato.
Oh boy. Yeah. Jack Cato, to set this up, when they were letting me run around with the news people at night, Jack Cato was their overnight photographer, and he would take film of the fires, wrecks, murders, death. You know, to me this is pretty exciting stuff. You know, riding around with him. So we get called to an apartment fire, and they moved all the furniture from the apartment that had burned out on the courtyard where the pool was. Okay, so he said, "Wait out here. I'm going to go in and shoot what's in the apartment." So I sat down on the edge of this couch, and it was covered in a sheet. You know, burned. So we're driving away from the scene after he got finished shooting it, and he calls in the fax to the radio station. He said, "Well, there's a fire, one fatality, blah, blah, Jack Cato, KPRC News." I said, "A fatality? I didn't see any bodies there." He said, "You know that couch you were sitting on?
Yeah.
Did you see the sheet next to it? You know what was underneath that sheet?"
No.
I said, "Oh, that's good. I'm sitting next to a stiff the whole time."
Gosh, and didn't even know it.
No.
That's too funny. But you really got interested in radio from that, and you went to sports.
I got into sports. Well, I was doing radio news at KPRC Radio. And they expanded their news blocks in the morning to 3 hours in the morning and then 3 hours in the afternoon. And they needed a full-time sportscaster. Wow. And I was the only guy on staff that had played high school football, so they named me the sportscaster.
Wow, that's perfect. All of it went back together.
Yeah, it was very serendipitous.
It was.
Yeah.
But there were some things that you covered that you didn't really know about. You actually worked as a PA announcer at a hockey game.
The old Houston Aeros of the World Hockey Association needed a PA announcer at their games.
Right.
And I volunteered, although I didn't know jack about hockey.
Had you even seen a hockey game before?
Not very many.
All right.
So the PA booth was in between the two penalty boxes. So when guys came out for fighting, I'd be sitting right between the two of them.
Oh, no.
And if I mispronounced their names, a lot of which were French, they'd start beating on the plexiglass with their sticks. And I'm like a 20-something-year-old kid. Oh, my God. But it was an experience.
I bet it was an experience. I think it was probably an experience, too, working with the Oilers. And, I mean, being a newscaster at the time of the Oilers. And I think you had some fun with Bud Adams and his dictum to be a family.
Yeah, Bud Adams is the owner of the now Tennessee Titans, was the owner of the Houston Oilers. And he was kind of a difficult guy to get along with.
Yeah.
And so after they got their rear ends kicked one game, he said, "Well, I'm not going to take this anymore." That's the way Bud talked. "I'm not going to do this anymore. From now on, we're going to be a family." I said, "Okay." So I found the music from the Addams Family. It was Bud Adams. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. They're creepy, and so I put Oiler footage to the music of the Addams Family, which didn't go over real well with Bud.
No,
but I don't care.
Well, I think that's one nice thing, that you've been able to use your sense of humor, and not everyone can use their sense of humor.
Well, it's sports. You know, it's not life and death. I've always told people, you know, people take sports way too seriously. It's a game.
Right.
You know?
It's pretty high stakes, though.
Yeah, it is for the people that are playing. But for those of us who are fans, and I don't bet, so I don't get into it that way.
Well, that's good.
But it's a game. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
Well, then what about working with the Astros? That was a tough time, don't you think?
Well, they've been so up and down. Yeah. I mean, one of the big thrills in my career was in 2005 when they won the National League Championship Series in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I finally realized that my hometown team was going to go to a World Series.
How sweet is this after all these years?
This is what we play for.
to get an opportunity to get to the World Series, and now we got it. Now we got to try and do what we also set out to do, and that's to win a World Series. But enjoying this moment right now. It's first time.
Did you really think that this was going to happen this year?
Well, at the beginning you couldn't have, but the guys, they believed in each other. Even when people gave up on them, they believed in each other. They pulled themselves together, and they root for each other. They're just
My dad had passed away in 2000, and he was a huge baseball fan. Yeah. And I wished he had been around. That's something I thought about at that time.
That he would have loved to see that.
Yeah, but actually to cover a World Series with my hometown team was a blast, even though we got swept 4-0.
Do you think Houston stayed behind the Oilers all the time, or did they pull away from the team?
When the Oilers announced that they were going to move to Tennessee, I think people started backing away from them because they didn't want to get emotionally involved with a team that was leaving.
Yeah. Well.
So, and I understand that.
Yeah.
You know, if they want to go, don't let the door hit them in the butt on the way out.
Well, you've certainly had some good times with the Houston Texans. You all became the official station of the Texans. Is that right?
Yeah. ABC 13 in Houston is the television home of the Houston Texans, and I get to do the preseason games, all the preseason games, and I travel with a team on their charter every week.
Wow.
So, like, as we tape this, what's today, Thursday? Saturday I'm leaving for New Orleans for a Saints game. Last weekend I was in Miami for that game.
Yeah.
So it's fun to do, and it'll be really fun this season if they do as well as I think they're going to do. And that's win the division.
You're feeling pretty positive about it.
I do. And we're only, as we tape, we're only 2 games in, so we'll see.
Well, what's it like being on the chartered airplane? I mean, what a thrill that must be to a sportsman.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you what the real fun charters were the old Oiler charters with Bum.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Because Bum, see, there's no alcohol at all on the Texan charters. It's the NFL has become very, very corporate and business-like. The Texans bring suite holders and sponsors on the charter with them as perks for buying. You know, back then it was just the players, coaches, and a few of the media people, so we'd have a good time. So with Bum, you get on the plane, there'd be 2 cold beers in every seat.
Oh, right, getting everybody loosened up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, everybody would have a good time.
Right.
Bum used to say that everybody wanted to sit next to tight end Mike Barber because he didn't drink, so they get his 2 beers as well.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, Bum was a character. Those old Oilers were a lot of fun to cover.
Well, and we're proud of him. He's an SFA alum.
He went here as well.
Yeah.
Bum, he's very proud of that fact.
Well, good.
As a matter of fact, I went to go see Bum a few months ago at his ranch in Goliad. He's 87, 88 years old now.
Wow.
I said, Bum, this is great. A beautiful spread. So what do you do now?
Right.
He said, Bobby, I don't do nothing. Don't start that till noon.
That's great. How fun. He does sound like he was fun to work with. Was it hard, though, to separate your... I don't suppose you could ever criticize them in your newscast.
Sure. Of course you can.
But you've just ridden with them on the plane, and
But you still got a job to do. As a journalist, you have a job to do. And if you do that job honestly, if you say that somebody made a mistake or dropped a pass or didn't run the right play, you're just telling the truth.
Yeah.
You're not there to cover up for them. You're not there to shill for them. And I cannot and will not ever do that. Even though we're the Texans, and they've gotten on me a little bit about being overly critical. I said, fans out there watching saw the same thing I did. I can't play like it didn't happen.
Yeah, you have to have credibility.
Yeah, so as a journalist, your audience has to believe in you or else you have nothing.
Well, let's talk about the defense. Part of it is the son of Bum Phillips.
Wade
He's
Phillips.
made a difference. Tell us about him and how he's changed the team.
Wade, as a person, is just the nicest guy as his dad was. He is his father's son.
Oh.
But he is one of the probably 3 or 4 best defensive coordinators in the National Football League. The players like him. They play for him. He's got great schemes. He knows where to put the players to get success, how to line up against different offenses. And they're having a ball playing against him. And right now, as we speak, they're the #1 defense in the league.
There are a couple of different things you do, and one is that you have like a short segment on the news, and then you have a weekend segment also. You do a Sunday night show. What's the difference in those 2 things?
Well, during the week, I'm on in the newscast. We have a 6 o'clock and a 10 o'clock show. On the 6 o'clock show, I've got 2 segments, one in the first half hour, one in the second half hour. That's basically just the sports news of the day.
34th round pick in the June draft. And Astro outfielder Jordan Schaefer arrested in Tampa, Florida, charged with felony possession of marijuana. He was released from jail on a $2,000 cash bond. And in Tampa, a record-setting day for the Texas Rangers as they beat the Rays and move on to the American League Championship Series for the 2nd straight year. And still no definitive word from the Texans on the extent of Andre Johnson's hamstring injury. They say they'll address it after practice tomorrow.
Right. We do that Monday through Friday. On Sunday night, it's strictly the Texans show. It's called Houston Texans Inside the Game. And it's a 30-minute show about the Texans that I do along with Spencer Tillman, who was an NFL player. He's also on CBS.
So he's a real insider.
Yeah, and he and I do the show together, and it's been a very successful show.
Smashed Steelers. The Texans' front seven recover from last week's late collapse by not allowing a single point in the final 14.5 minutes. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Allen. The Texans' offense had some troubles with the Steelers' defense, but set the tone early with a monster drive that took nearly 11 minutes off the clock, gained 115 yards, ending the way it was supposed to end, in the end zone. Texans had opportunities to put the game away early, but those were taken away by penalties. In the end, though, the Texans made the key plays when they needed to. Joining me now, Spencer Tillman.
Bobby, how are you?
All right, now it wasn't that long ago that this was a team that couldn't finish, couldn't get physical.
Right,
well, they finished. They got physical today, didn't they?
It was the type of game they needed to win, a lower scoring game, a physical game, the type of game that builds the character of a team.
It's kind of a loose show.
Yeah, it's not scripted, so we have a chance. I enjoy it a lot more because it gives us a chance to talk more and to interplay together and to have a little fun with it, because it's not so tightly scripted as a newscast is.
Well, how do you prepare for that? I mean, you're doing short, condensed things during the game. You're noting things that might be good. How do you work?
During a game, I'll be writing down different plays or different thoughts I might have about, say, a linebacker had a sack or a running back made a good play, and my producer's back in Houston, so I'll call him at halftime and I'll call him at the end of the game. I think we should do this, 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 and this. And then he'll lay out the show because I'll be flying back from wherever I am, Miami or whatever. And then I land with the team. We all land and we get on the bus and we go back to the stadium where our cars are. And then I'll have a player follow me from the stadium over to the station to tape a segment of the show.
Wonderful.
It's a long day on Sunday.
Yeah.
So he'll tape that segment and then he'll leave and then I'll go through the rundown of the show and we do the show live at 10:35.
Second half, there was a letdown, but this week you guys managed to find a second gear in there and get back on track. What happened? Why was this different?
Well, I think in the NFL, it's all about finishing games. And I think this team understands that. You know, we finished 3 out of 4 games this year. You know, really the Colts game, we had built such a lead. I don't think it was about finishing as much as just, you know, doing our thing. But, you know, Miami game, we stayed on the field and finished it. You know, Saints game, we didn't finish very well. And then, of course, the next drive, Arian breaks a big 42-yard run and we score.
A lot of people in this area in Houston don't realize it, but you guys, your offensive line is by some considered the best in the NFL. And I don't think people, because they've had such a bad offensive line here in the past. Tell the people how much continuity means toward that end.
Well, it's everything. It's something that we build on. We do so many things together. You know, we're friends off the field, first and foremost. So we know each other well. We're willing to tell each other anything. We joke around. We fight like brothers sometimes. It's comical.
One of the things I'm really interested about is kind of the state of news now. And you know, one of the students here asked you about the Ron Burgundy and Anchorman. You're not a talking head. You write your own.
I write every word I say. I couldn't, in clear conscience, go on the air and read somebody else's words because that's not what I'm saying. And I told these students, a lot of them today when I was here talking to some of the classes, that one real important thing you've got to do in writing for broadcasting is write like you talk. Because then it's going to come out conversationally. And you want the people who are looking in the camera to feel like you're having a conversation with them and make it personal. You don't want to talk at them, spewing a bunch of facts, because you're asking people in the audience to invite you into their home every night, to watch you on television. So they've got to feel comfortable with you. They've got to feel like they know you. So be personable, write like you talk, talk to them, look at them. When I look into the lens over there, I imagine that there's a man and a woman standing right there, and I'm having a conversation with them.
Well, now, sports writing, though, is certainly more colorful than news writing. Do you have sort of a whole stock of exciting phrases like
No, I don't.
they annihilated, they stomped, they...
No, because that's going with cliches, and I don't want to do that. I just want to tell a story, and it's what I'm feeling at the time. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of sportscasters that do that stuff, and I think that's kind of 80-ish, 90-ish.
Interesting.
Whether it's all about storytelling, whether it's news, whether it's sports, it's how you present the facts, tell the story in an interesting, informative way that's entertaining, and that has something to it that they're going to listen to, something that'll hook your audience. Because I was told a long time ago by a boss that if you say one thing in a show that people are going to talk about the next night or the next day at the office at the water cooler, then you've done your job. If there's one thing in there that they're going to remember, then you've done your job.
Can you think of any stories that you've heard in sports that you particularly liked, that you felt good about when you told them?
Gosh, there's been a lot of them. Oilers winning, Astros winning. I mean, it usually has to do with wins. You remember some that stand out, like the Earl Campbell trade to the Saints, or when Bum got fired by the Oilers, or when the day that it was announced that pro football was returning back to Houston, that the Texans were coming. You remember landmark days like that, and that's what makes it exciting to be able to tell people that news.
Have you done a story on Wade and Bum?
Oh, yeah. I've tried to get the two of them to sit down together, and when Bum's been there, Wade hadn't been there, and Wade's been there, but I'm going to get them together, both of them. Well, they want to do it. I've asked them about it.
That's good. You know, we talk a lot about all the changes that are happening in our business, that students can't just know how to present on camera. They need to do online. They need to do all sorts of things. One of the things I noticed is that your Sunday night show, you can see the full episodes online. Now, does that surprise you?
No, because there has to be multiple platforms now. Because you can get your information anywhere. You can go to the, if you want to know something, go to your phone, go on the internet,
That's true.
go on your computer, go on your iPad. So it's different platforms. I tweet all during a Texan game. While I'm taking notes, I'm tweeting on our Twitter account at the station, which also goes on our Facebook account.
Right.
So it's multiple platforms that you have to be on, and each cross promotes the other. Our Facebook promotes our Twitter, which promotes our on-air work, and our on-air stuff goes back and drives traffic to the web. So it's all a big
I read a blogger who said that when you announced in a tweet during a game that Wade Phillips was going to be hired on, you could hear all the newscasters across Houston screaming because they didn't get that scoop.
Well, but that goes back, too bad. But that goes back to having context and know. I talked to Wade on the phone.
Yeah.
He told me he's coming in tomorrow to take the job. Okay, hello.
Yeah. What kind of advice could you give our students who are graduating with broadcast or journalism degrees?
To go with their passion, number one. Don't give up on what they want to do, what they love to do. Don't expect to come from SFA right from college to go to a major market like a Houston, a Dallas, big. Go to somewhere small and learn a style, learn how to make mistakes, correct the mistakes, learn how to write, learn how to be comfortable in front of a camera or a microphone or whatever it is you decide to do. And then once you feel comfortable with that, then start sending resumes up to the next level market.
And meet people, as you said.
Make a lot of contacts. Be very, very persistent.
How can they do that?
Knock on doors. Knock on doors.
Literally.
Yeah. Email. Make almost a pest of yourself, but in a nice way.
Yes, be a nice pest.
Yeah. But let them know who you are, that you're good. And if you're this persistent in trying to get a job, they know that you're going to be persistent in getting the job done once you get there.
And getting the story, which is not always easy.
Exactly.
That's a very good point. Well, I think we have a little bit of time. I'd like to ask you just a couple of general questions of things I'm interested in. You have done sports work from Sam Houston Coliseum, the Astrodome, the Minute Maid Juice Box, and Reliant. What's the difference in all? Is it part of the evolution of Houston?
Oh, sure. Sure, like the old Sam Houston Coliseum isn't even standing anymore. That's where the Houston Aeros played hockey.
Right.
As a matter of fact, as a child, that's where I went to go see the rodeo. The rodeo.
Oh.
See Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and all.
Really?
They used to be at the rodeo there. Saw the Beatles in concert
Oh, my
there.
goodness. And you mentioned them second.
Yeah.
After the rodeo?
Well, I was trying to go in
Chronological.
order.
Okay.
But it was fun. It was one of these old, nasty buildings, but it had a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Character.
Character.
Yeah. Astrodome was fun to work in, but now it's a dump.
Yeah.
There's rats running around there. There's possums. I don't even know why they still keep it open.
Wow.
I guess it's because it's a historical landmark in Houston.
They redid it once. I mean, it was completely redone at one
Yeah,
time.
yeah, and I think they're still paying for it.
Oh.
And then
That's
Bud
sad.
moved his Oilers away. But
Yeah.
right now, Houston's got the best sports venues in the country. I think when you go to Toyota Center for basketball, Minute Maid Park for baseball, Reliance Stadium for football, I think those are put together three of the nicest stadiums anywhere.
Well, what about Minute Maid Park? What do you think of it?
Minute Maid Park is one of those retro ballparks that was built. It would open in 2000, and it's a great place to watch baseball. It's too bad they don't have a baseball team in it this year.
You're not feeling good about the team?
No, they're the worst team in baseball.
Reliance Stadium is so nice.
Oh, it's beautiful. There's not a bad seat in the stadium. I mean, every seat is close up.
And it does seem close up. And it did seem like the Jumbotrons, or whatever they call them now, just put the play right in front of you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a great venue for
Yeah.
football.
And
it really is.
for sportscasters, too.
Well, the press box at Reliance Stadium is way, way up on top.
I wondered where it was. I didn't
Yeah,
see you.
way,
over
way
there.
high. It's
Yeah.
on the Texan side of the field. But, nowadays, all the good seats, where they used to have the press boxes, they're selling them for, fan suites so they can make money off of them. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter where we sit. We can go, we could sit in the basement for all they care.
They know you're going to be there, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, I understand that you also, in addition to everything else you do charity work. You
Yeah.
were named Interfaith's Charity Sportscaster of the Year,
Yeah.
or something, or of the
Yeah.
millennium, or something like that.
I just think it's important to be involved in the community that you're in. And I've taken a special, since 1975 I've been involved with Special Olympics. And I think to me, that's the true essence of sport, because you've got youngsters and even older people that have drawn a short straw in life that are intellectually challenged.
Right.
And this is one thing that can make them feel, you put them in the events and you cheer them on, and they feel like, for this one period of time, they're just like us.
They're winning.
Whether they win or not. The Special Olympics oath is, let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
to me, to see a kid with Down syndrome come running across the finish line and having people cheer him on and having he or she feel so good about themselves that
Right.
they've finally accomplished something.
Wow.
That's something that stays with you forever.
Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
with us. I'm Linda Bond, and I'm so pleased to have gotten to interview Bob Allen. Thank you. Bye.